View from the Gutters presents Back Matter, Episode 10. On this episode, we discuss Image Comics, the 90s, and Spawn, 1 through 12.
I read up to like issue 90.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I want to keep reading.
Well,
I guess we
after-
should start, because we're going to talk about this.
Yeah. Okay.
It's rolling, so whoever wants to introduce it.
I'll get us started. Welcome to.
Are you starting?
I'm starting.
Okay.
Welcome to Back Matter. Welcome to the Spawn Cast. Back Matter.
Spawncast, new show.
Yeah,
This is the launch of
where
a
we
new show.
only
We
talk
only
about
Spawn.
Todd McFarlane's Spawn.
I would be totally down for that. But first, I'm Andrew Chard.
I am Joe Preti.
I'm Chris Preti,
Whoa.
Joe's brother.
Yeah, it's
Joe's
crazy.
brother's on the show.
We got the Preti brothers on whatever. Just fucking gone. Whatever I was gonna say, it's gone.
Yes.
This is fucking
So,
cool.
welcome to another episode of Back Matter. We're going
Yeah.
to talk about Spawn. And the reason that we're talking about Spawn is because you guys used to read the shit out of this as
We
kids,
did.
right?
We did.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah.
So yeah, when we kind of reimagined Back Matter, one of the things I really wanted to do with it, aside from talking about news and just stuff we couldn't generally talk about on the podcast, was to talk to people that we wouldn't be able to get on the podcast normally. And I was like, I got to get my brother on here, and I was like, well, what were we talk about? And I was like, oh, we got to fucking talk about something from Image, because that's when we both started reading comics. Is right before Image really became a
They
thing.
had just separated from like Marvel, all those guys.
Yeah, I think Wildcats at that point and Youngblood
Yeah.
had kind of were established in their infancy, but like we both bought, like I can't remember who it was that bought Spawn #1.
I don't think either. I didn't buy Spawn.
I might have bought Spawn #1, but when I was 15 or something, I was like, oh shit, this is insane! Look how
The artwork is really cool.
Yeah, right. So
Yeah.
I was like, well, we got to talk about Spawn. And then I read Spawn and I was like, maybe we don't have to talk about Spawn. And it's really interesting. I mean, I guess, Chard, this is the first time you've read it.
Yeah, I'm younger than you guys, so in 93 I was probably still reading like Archie Adventure Turtles and Sonic the Hedgehog. So I was excuse me, I'm sick. I was like very aware of the Image boom because our comic book store, the comic book shop in Spokane, their location that wasn't the back issues location, their like main location. You would just see like the Max and Spawn and like all these like cool 90s
Max,
books.
yeah,
Like I remember the Max really vividly, probably more than I remember anything else. But you would see all these like cool Image books and stuff. But I was really too young to read any of that stuff, and I just like wouldn't really pay attention to it.
Right. Which is fair.
So Spawn, I always grew up later in life when I got back into reading comics. It kind of was like the brunt of every joke, Spawn. And I remember watching the movie, the live action movie,
God.
Yeah, it was
and being
powerful.
like, I don't know that that's really for me. Like, so if that's what Spawn's like, I don't think I'm in.
I don't know that the Spawn movie is for anybody.
And that's kind of what I've learned reading Spawn now, is that the movie was not so
far off.
Yeah, it was not representative of like exactly what Spawn was about, but it was close.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. This was my first time reading it, and I'm not gonna lie, I kind of loved it. So
Wow.
I think there's...
Wait, do you love it for its campiness, or? For
I mean,
its...
partially, yeah, but I mean, also partially because like as a piece of history, I was like,
Oh, okay.
I mean, I think that Todd McFarlane's a genius. People will shit on him all you want. I think he's a business genius. I think he took
Oh, for sure.
like he created an entire empire of action figures in a market that no one wanted to make action figures
Well,
for.
he's got the same kind of don't take no for an answer attitude that Steve Jobs had.
Right.
Unfortunately,
I mean,
it's a much more overblown case of like, well, you can't tell me I'm wrong, which has led him into trouble.
I'm
going
to say I think Todd's a genius. I still think he's an asshole.
Yeah.
I do think, like,
I remember that.
I mean, I'm not going to say that I'll excuse everything that he's ever said or done because he's not the nicest guy in the world. But I do think that, he wanted to take and make action figures for a demographic that wanted to buy action figures, but no one was making action figures for them. And that's the guys that were reading Image comics and stuff in the 90s that were growing up with this stuff, and they were older. They were like 15 to 25, and no one's making action figures for them. They're just making action figures for young kids.
Right.
And he pushed so hard for these McFarlane figures to come out, and Toys R Us wouldn't carry them, and nowhere would carry them. And he was like, fuck it, I'll sell them in comic book stores. And he sold like collectible figures and stuff in comic book stores. And he built an entire empire based on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And I think that he's a business genius for that. And I look at Spawn and I'm kind of like, it's sort of a genius move what he did with Spawn, because he just took a bunch of elements of people and characters that worked in comic books and just like made a character out of them. He's like
Patrick.
Yeah, he's like Batman, Doctor Strange. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
He's like Batman, Doctor Strange, Spider-Man. Like he's got and a little bit of Deadpool.
There's a lot of
thrown
Spider-Man,
in.
even in the artwork. There's a lot of Spider-Man.
Well, I mean, he was drawing Spider-Man
That's what
for
he was
so
doing.
long.
Yeah, I
so
mean,
obviously,
that was his breakout title was Spider-Man.
Like
and
the
he did
mask,
Torment
like
and-
the way he does the mask on Spawn is
very
like it's a
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man mask,
Yeah.
and he's got the Doctor Strange cowl, and he's magic, and he goes to hell, and then he's like, there's bats all over the place
there's
for
also-
no reason.
There's
And
also elements
his cape
of
is
like
like totally Batman.
the Marvel kind of.
He's like the
like
Wolverine,
the,
a
like
little
Ghost
bit.
Rider type stuff. With
Oh
just,
yeah, the
like
chains. Yeah,
everywhere.
that's what it is.
Yeah.
Is Ghost Rider, and he's like the all of the Midnight Suns
Come on.
in one character.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of genius.
No, I agree. I mean, there is one.
It's very
thing-
gimmicky.
Yeah,
It is.
but it sold books. I mean, like it very
no, like
obviously
fucking
worked.
hotcakes,
I mean,
man.
there's
Yeah.
Deadpool thrown in there because his face is all fucked up. There's like Wolverine in there that he's like, I'm the loner. I'm do what I want. I live
Although
in the,
at this
you know.
point, Deadpool still would have been largely an enigma because this is before Joe Kelly got a hold of him. This
Yeah,
is
but
before-
Liefeld had created him already.
Yeah, no,
you know?
he had.
Oh, yeah,
but had
for
we
sure.
seen his face at this point? Did we know he
I
was?
actually
all-
don't know.
I don't think. I think that happened.
I think in the 90s
later.
we probably had.
Because I mean, Deadpool really rose to prominence in fucking what was it with Strife? Just keep thinking of
It was
Strife.
X-Force, right?
It was but Executioner's song was that? it?
No, he wasn't around. He wasn't in that at all.
What was the one? I mean,
Executioner's song was when one of the guys is. Or wait, it's Strife. He's coming back.
To Kill Cable, right?
Yeah.
Strife, for those of you who don't know, is Cable's clone, and his
He's
fucking
got like the wing head.
Yeah,
Just-
he's got a,
yeah.
it's like it
'Cause I
reminds
had
me of
that action
Galactus.
figure.
Yeah, it's very
yeah.
Galactus. Just take a second, pause this episode, go and Google Strife. Did he
I'm sure
spell it with a Y?
I'm sure everyone
Might have been
knows.
Y.
Just and if you can't, if nothing pops up, that just like Google like Strife, comma Cable.
He was on
or
X-Force.
X-Force.
Yeah.
And just check out the splendor that it
Well, I remember
was,
owning
like-
that action figure as a kid and like having no idea what
Strife?
it was.
Yeah.
I like owned one. It was like all metal. Well, I mean like metallic looking.
Yeah, it looked
yeah.
like he was like,
He
you know,
wore a
it'd be a
metal
really
suit.
good idea to make armor out of razor blades and like
Well,
just
duh.
big flat planes of metal.
That works for me.
Yeah, I'm
it's-
totally into that. I
It's
don't
just
know
like,
what you're
how the
talking
fuck
about.
did you make this? Like, I don't understand how you.
With
I
his
guess,
mind, he was all telekinetic, man.
He was. That's
Yeah.
what, I guess that's how he made it.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's
I'm
more.
enlightened.
He's cooler than you thought he was.
God, no, he was.
Well, I'm reading this now because I read all 12 issues in like one or two sittings while I was doing laundry and stuff. And I want to know what this was like reading it at the time because it feels like nothing happens issue to issue sometimes.
Well, the way I remember it, and what actually kind of drew me in was this whole like deal with the devil thing, and he kind of hints at. Well, I don't know if it's in the first 12 issues or not, but he kind of hints at the ability for Spawn to not be under the devil's control anymore.
Well, that
And,
that I
you know,
think
there
happens
was
a little
promises and stuff, and yeah, I don't know.
Well, I mean,
you-
they had a lot of stuff that made you like kind of want to keep reading. Like they had the countdown timer. that
Yeah,
doesn't
that's
make any
exactly
sense,
what's going to
and-
happen when that goes
Yeah.
to nothing, and
And I mean, I must have been reading this for a while, but because I remember getting it down to 6 something. Like,
Yeah, I can't remember.
but I agree. Like reading this, it's not so much that I think it's bad. It's just that, and we talk a lot about on the show. We talk about the decompressed nature of modern comics and how you can take time to tell a story. Todd McFarlane wasn't having any of fucking that. There is so much goddamn fucking text in these stories.
Yeah, the first several issues, especially, just like the reporters.
Just
very Dark Knight Returns.
Which, it's super Frank Miller because Frank Miller loved doing that shit. But there's a lot of
he does it in RoboCop 2 as well.
Yeah. He
all
loves
over
the
the
talking
place.
heads, which is hilarious because one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this book is in that first year. In the end of the first year, I think it's issues 8, 9, 10, and 11. Issue 8 is written by Alan Moore. Issue 9 is written by Neil fucking Gaiman. Issue 10 is written by Dave Sims. And
I think it's 13 is Walter Simonson.
11 is Frank Miller.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
And
about
then-
that. Too.
Yeah, like
This is a Walter Simonson one, like just after the year mark.
I mean, so these guys were just like these are people that changed the face of modern comics.
But to be fair, though, reading those issues felt so fucking weird.
It is very weird.
I loved the Alan Moore one just because it was like you get to see that child killer dude in hell.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like- And
No, it was a great issue.
yeah, and he's like building up a lot of the mythos of what hell is like. And I
Right.
thought that was really cool.
Yeah, like
which
the
is a
different
very
levels and all
Alan
that.
Moore thing. I
Right,
think.
exactly. It feels like Alan Moore.
Yeah.
It feels like Alan Moore just dropped on this book and was like, what can I do to make this place fucking weird? And he did it. And then Neil Gaiman's is like, they all add so much to the mythos of Spawn that
absolutely.
did not exist before they came onto the book. So
Yeah.
he adds all the layers of hell. Neil Gaiman adds the fact that like this is not the first Spawn.
Right.
Like there was
The history,
like
yeah.
a nightly Spawn. Because
Well,
I remember those
they're
action
not
figures.
just human; they're all
Right.
different. Yeah.
And the hell spawns, like, as a lineage. Like, I remember as a kid seeing the spawn.
Medieval Spawn.
And being
Yeah.
like, is that a thing? Or did they just, like, make that
Well,
up
I
for
think
the
that was something we
toys?
both fairly freaked out about. It was, it's Medieval Spawn. He's so fucking badass. Look
Yeah.
at him.
Yeah,
His
cool.
horse has a Spawn mask.
It's
And now I'm
pretty
like,
cool.
did his horse have the parasite too? Like the parasite costume?
Right.
Where did they like die in battle together? And then
Probably.
they're like, because then
I'm
then
sure
it-
that's revealed later in the comics.
I
Joe. If you
hope
read
so,
further,
because
there's
it's
200
When
some
there's I think there's a whole miniseries about Dark Age Spawn.
Oh, is there?
Yeah,
sure
later
there
on.
is.
That meant like years past where we were. But I just want to picture this horse like he jumps off the horse to do battle, and then the horse has got like chains and a cape all around it too, and he's got to be careful not to step on the cake because then he'll fall down,
Right.
and, like trip on the chain. It's like this is a really bad idea to give this horse the entire
Well, I
costume.
love that he has, like, this 40-foot cape. And then
That
when
seems to compress when he's.
Yeah, and then at the one time he like gets a bunch of guns and he's like, "Fuck the cape, I don't need that." But then he goes right back to it.
Yeah. Well, the great thing is, it's like, I'm going to go and do this. Oh, this cape will get in my way. And then it's like, the cape was following him. We don't see this, like, we don't see the moment where the cape catches back up with him.
Hey,
we don't see
Spawn,
any.
hey,
hey.
It's just you left me at home. What
is
are you
that
doing?
my cape? Wait, you get the sense that Spawn
like
is like
on the bus,
walking
like-
down the street with his bum buddies, and then he like looks across. He's like, "Don't look. What is it? Spawn, what is it? Oh, it's my cape, man. It won't leave me the fuck. Just don't look at it. Don't look at it. Maybe it'll go away."
I also love that he like. This is the only superhero I think of that like sleeps in an alley with a bunch of homeless dudes.
Which is
Like that's so weird, but at the same time, it like kind of makes sense for Spawn. Like,
Yeah.
well,
He felt so out of place, right?
Yeah.
I remember reading this and thinking that this was really cool, even though I was old enough to understand that like Todd McFarlane was a fucking like his ass.
Yeah, I remember
his
you
ego
didn't like
wrote
him.
checks that his ass couldn't cash. I remember there was a big thing, and it was either at like Wizard World Chicago or San Diego Comic-Con where he challenged Peter David to a fucking debate, and Peter David fucking savaged him.
yeah,
Like,
I can imagine.
absolutely savaged him because Todd McFarlane, like the thing that I've never liked about him is not that he's got an ego. That's fun. Like there's plenty of guys with egos in this business. It's the fact that he has no idea what he's talking about. He's the kind of person that's like, well, I think this is the case, therefore that must be the case. And
He's very business savvy, but like as a writer, he's not outstanding. And I think even he knew that.
Yeah.
Because like, he has all these guest writers in the first year. And then he leaves writing and drawing Spawn at some point in the
like
early
very
20s.
early.
Yeah, 25 or something. He's done.
Well, he gave a guest spot to Capullo in like 16.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, doesn't Capullo take over for a little while?
Yeah, for a good while.
I think part of that was the fact that he knew. I think he came from working. All these guys came from work, like. And I want to say this at first, regardless of how I feel about Todd McFarlane and regardless how I feel about early Image Comics, these guys left cushy gigs.
Oh, yeah.
Where they were at the top of their fucking gang at the big two in a time when the future of modern, like, superhero comics was unsure to start their own studios.
Yep.
And that takes guts, man. That takes a lot of guts.
I mean, they in a lot of ways are the reason that there are creator-owned comics.
Oh, absolutely,
now.
absolutely.
Like, you can trace it back to the day they left Marvel and DC.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And that's so bizarre. Like, you don't see that in a lot of studios where, like, one day they're like, well, we should get paid what we're worth. And then the next day they do get paid what they're
exactly.
worth. Like, that's really rare.
Exactly. So...
Good for them.
It's like super cool. But I think what happened is you put out almost 2 years of a comic book, and you're doing the writing duties, you're doing the penciling, you're doing the inking, right? That's a lot of fucking work.
Yeah.
And Todd McFarlane was notoriously bad with deadlines.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So it like makes sense that after a while you would keep writing, because I think he kept writing it for longer than he definitely stopped penciling.
No,
and
he did
inking
write it for a while.
He kept writing it, but
in the
he definitely
50s or
stopped doing
so,
the
he
art.
like though it's like completely. It
left.
takes a completely different direction.
And I think partially that was due to the fact that he was becoming an entrepreneur in this other sense.
Yeah.
But I think it's also, partially because my biggest problem with Spawn is that, and I've talked to somebody recently about this, it never went anywhere. He sets up all this really cool stuff. And like, even though there's a lot of exposition in the first few issues, he's still doing some cool stuff. He's still kind of like, he has an interesting thing. He's got like, Spawn is a black protagonist, right? But he can't make himself look black. He can only look himself white. And I always thought that was really
so funny.
It was clever, right?
Kind of awful at the same time.
It is, but I think that's like so much of your identity
What's
is
funny,
wrapped
though,
up in who you
is
are.
when he transforms into the white guy. He's talking, and I like forget that Spawn's black sometimes because it's like it's the words of Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
So it sounds
very
like white Canadian.
man.
Yeah.
And like
Eh?
when he transforms into the white guy, I always imagine that it like changes his voice and he like can't say things that he would have said before, and he like makes him speak extra white, and he just sounds like Dave Chappelle when he's doing his
When he's
white
doing
guy
the
voice.
extra white guy thing.
Because
But-
he says some weird stuff in those. I'm like, that does not sound like Spawn.
He totally does. He totally does. The weird thing to me about this is just how much is going, like, so in the first 12 issues, and Spawn has his thing going on, and that actually progresses really quick, because at the end of the first year, we know who killed Spawn, which is like, kind of normally, like nowadays, that takes fucking issues and issues and issues,
yeah,
like years.
look at Red Hulk. That went on for like 2.5 years of
Right.
like, who is Red Hulk.
So, that happens relatively quickly, but then you have like Violator killing mafia bosses, and then the mafia. It's just there's a lot of incongruity going on.
Yeah.
And then there's these
just
weird
things happening for no
futuristic
reason,
kids.
kind of thing.
Yeah, and then while those 4 issues are really cool, you have Frank Miller at the end, basically just writing the Spawn Knight Returns, where he's got the 2 gangs going at each other.
Yeah.
And like, it's cool,
It's weird,
but
though,
it's
too.
so weird, especially
I did not enjoy that issue.
the first 2, like, so Alan Moore, super solid, sets up a lot of the Spawn mythology. Neil Gaiman comes on, says, okay, well, now there's opposite numbers. There's this whole other thing going on. And then Dave
And this
Sim,
legacy.
Yeah, right. And a legacy.
And then
going
Dave
on.
Sim examines like the psychology of Spawn in a
Well,
way.
but also makes this big
Yeah, it was like a
statement.
political thing almost. Yeah.
where he like Like
This-
all of the other superheroes in the universe
they're
are
like
giving Spawn
dying
his
in
power.
a prison.
Well,
Yeah.
which is it's funny. I have not read that comic in 20 years easily, easily. And when I read it, I don't know if you remember reading that for the first time, but I definitely do, because I was like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Because I did not realize the enormity of the statement that Dave Sim is trying to make.
Yeah, I didn't care. I mean, back then I was just reading Spawn for the pictures.
Which is
Yeah.
it's fair. That was the big debate. This is great. So Chris was definitely the Image guy in our house because I was the Valiant guy, and Chris would like read Valiant and just be like, "The art sucks.
The art
How do you
sucks
read these?" And I'm like, "Well, the story is really, really good." And he's like, "I don't give a fuck about that." And I was like, "That's fair. That's fair." I wasn't actually. That was fair. I called him names, and then he called me names,
And
and
we
then
probably punched each other. A few
yeah,
times.
it was punching. But reading it now, it's like Dave Sims is basically saying, "You are superheroes comics only hope, Spawn."
I don't know that he's saying it's his only hope, but like it's a passing of the torch, right? It's like this shit is old and busted. And like, in '93, like it was. Like
Oh,
you have
absolutely.
bullshit like the death of Superman, and you have
Was that 93?
I mean, it's like
Wow.
yeah, right in there. And
It's
you have
definitely-
like
yeah.
Heroes Reborn over at Marvel, and Marvel filing for bankruptcy. You have like a lot of really like it was really uncertain as to whether superhero comics were going to make it out of the '90s.
No, absolutely.
Especially in the early '90s, it was like, is this shit done? Like, did we just fuck up like really bad? Is it all going away? And so when I read that with that context, it's kind of like, yeah, so kids aren't reading the superheroes that we grew up with. So like now you Spawn, you have to like go out and get people to continue to read comics. Like we're passing the torch on to you. And in a weird way, if Spawn is a metaphor for Image Comics, like that's exactly what happened.
No, and I agree, but I don't. I feel like I think there is that torch passing moment, but I also think Dave Sims is saying the future of comics is in creator owned content.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, and I don't think he like out and out fucking
No, he
says
totally
that.
says that.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious to
it's-
me that he comes in and it's just like,
I always felt that was kind of insulting, the way he went about it, too. I mean, it was insulting to the guys who did not jump ship or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and that's
He's kinda
I
like-
think
He's kind of
that's
calling
true.
him out.
yeah.
At
big
that
time.
time, it's not the tone of it is not one of like, hey, you guys were doing work for hire
Right.
and you got fucked over. It was
No.
very much like you guys sold
suck.
out.
Yeah, you guys are little bitches.
And now, like looking back on it, it makes a lot more sense because of the dirty shit that the big two were doing and
Oh, yeah.
basically going, these are our fucking characters. You can't do anything with them.
Right.
Which there's still
But
things have gotten a lot better.
It leads
but-
to an interesting point, though, because if you buy the collections of Spawn, if you buy the big hardcovers, or if you buy the trade paperbacks of Spawn, what issue is missing every time you buy them?
Oh,
I don't
well,
know.
It's
this-
issue 9,
yeah.
Shut up.
the Neil Gaiman issue,
Because,
because
Oh, right, because of the lawsuit and all that
right,
shit.
because
Yeah, yeah.
Todd wouldn't pay Neil for Angela, the character.
Well, and it
that he
wasn't just
created.
that. Neil was like, hey, this is my character.
Right.
Like, are you ever going to ask? It was a thing where like Neil was like, this is my character. You cannot use this character without my permission.
Right.
And Todd was like, fuck you, it's my character.
Like you wrote it in my book, which
Yeah,
is
you wrote-
exactly the way that DC and Marvel
Which-
treat those
ironic.
creators.
Which is right, which is a thing, but the difference is that was not a work for like Neil Gaiman was not working for Todd
Yeah, he
McFarlane
was.
for hire.
Yes, he absolutely
No, he was a guest writer.
But he was being paid to write on that book. Was he being paid a character creation fee? Like, we don't know.
Well, I mean, and the
clearly
thing
not.
is, like, he may have been paid by Image to write that book, but he wasn't being paid to create a character. Yeah, I think that's
You know
the
what I
difference.
mean?
It's just
Like-
Well, maybe was that something that was flimsy? I mean, was it something that they discussed? Was it
I think
like,
I think that there was just like not enough. Like there was no real contracts in place.
Right.
It was
Yeah.
like, hey, here's some money. Will you write an issue?
I could go
for
either way
us?
with that.
And
I mean,
and I kind of can too. But what I find interesting about it is like that's how Marvel and the DC treats their writers. Is like, oh, if you create a character in one of our books,
intellectual.
like,
Well, yeah,
that's
IP
ours
laws
now.
are stupid.
like, we
and-
own that. And
Right.
so like you can't create a villain in Batman and then be like, I'm gonna make my own series about that villain. They're like,
Right.
no, like we own that.
No, there's actually the creator of Howard the Duck did this great thing where like he was writing Howard the Duck and then Marvel basically kicked him off the book, and so he went to Image and wrote a book about a character that was pretty much Howard the Duck.
Right.
That came to like our universe and killed Howard the Duck somehow. You should look it up. I am getting details wrong, but
Is that the whole Howard the Duck reference at the end of Guardians
Well,
of
I
the Galaxy?
think that was just James Gunn being like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
Oh.
Because
Who's
James
James
Gunn.
Gunn? Oh, James Gunn
He
has something to do with
directed. He directed the movie.
James Gunn was the director of Guardians of the Galaxy.
But what does he
and a
have
lot
to
of
do with Howard the Duck?
Well,
He just likes him, I think.
I think he was just giving a nod. I think it was so. There was a rumor that was not supposed to be Howard the Duck. The rumor is that was supposed to be Spider-Man, wasn't it?
What?
No, there was a rumor that they were going to use one of the post-credit scenes to announce that like they had worked out a
crossover,
deal with
yeah.
Sony.
Oh.
And then all of the Marvel movies have 2 post-credit like end scenes except for Guardians. So they cut one of them. And then there was like, because they didn't release them to the press, there was all this big like hubbub about
what it
why would
was.
you not release that to the press? Like it's just a Howard the Duck. Like no one
Right,
cares.
right.
So there was clearly one that was like more something. And some people speculated it was Spider-Man. Some people speculated it was Captain Marvel because she's going to be in the movies and she's also a cosmic character.
Yep.
And probably will be introduced in Guardians too.
Well, yeah, and it could have been fucking
Because
anybody.
they've now announced that there is going to be a standalone Captain Marvel
Yeah.
movie. And are you going to introduce her
And
in her own movie, or are you going to have her in a different movie first? And like, there's, I don't know. We'll see
I'm
how
just
it
gonna
works.
say that if Katie Sackhoff isn't tapped to play Captain Marvel, I'm going to weep.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree. Like, I love Katie Sackhoff. I think she'd be great. But I'm sure there's other people that would do a fantastic
Well,
job,
and
too.
yeah, I mean, I'm still upset that they picked Idris Elba to play Heimdall and not Black Panther because I just feel like
I'm
he was-
actually really pumped at the Black Panther casting, though.
I think it'll be
He's
cool.
super good.
I think it'll be cool. The other thing is that I have ultimate faith in them because I've seen screenshots from the Daredevil miniseries that's
Yeah.
coming out, and he's wearing the costume from Man Without Fear with the fucking blindfold and like the gray sweats, and he looked fucking awesome. So I don't care. I trust them.
No, I'm pumped.
Chris
Well,
is sitting here going, I don't know what the fuck you people
I
are
know
doing.
Man Without Fear. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like
Yeah.
my first Daredevil.
Wasn't that
book.
Frank Miller?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Frank Miller. Yeah.
yeah, but the Frank Miller issue in Spawn, though, not so good.
Kind of hokey.
Yeah.
There's
very-
a lot of that in Spawn.
Yeah.
A lot of just random violence just to show random
Yeah.
violence. And,
Which is one of my least favorite things ever.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it was great as a teenager.
Right, exactly, right? Like, it's, like, people love it, but...
Well, and I think now the interesting thing to me is whenever I read a book like this or like something older, I think there's something to be said for like trying to put yourself in the shoes of when it first came out, because now there is a lot more violence. You got the fucking Joker cutting his face off for
Yeah.
whatever stupid fucking reason Scott Snyder decided to have him do that. And just
Make it
like,
scary.
yeah, right, because that's scary.
Well,
the
it's
thought that this guy will
Pretty
walk
fucking
into a
scary.
bank and shoot you, or maybe not shoot you, and maybe shoot, like, it's not scary enough.
Well,
We need to
it's
cut
the
his face off.
misunderstanding of, like, it's the Eli Roth syndrome, right? Where
Yeah.
it's like, there's psychological horror, which
Right.
is more terrifying.
Right.
But
and
it's
gore.
easier to just show you a guy putting his hand in a meat grinder.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's way easier.
Yeah.
And so...
But it doesn't
But that's
stick
not
with you.
terror. That's
No,
more like
that's just like,
gore,
oh, I would
yeah.
hate for that to
I
happen to me.
always-
But, like, psychological horror, like, watch Misery.
Well, I always
Yeah.
think of this thing I saw
Psychological horror
once.
is different.
It
fucked up
was,
book.
it was like, it was this thing I read, right? And it was basically your 7-year-old self and your 21-year-old self talking about different horror movies, right? And it's like, oh, Friday the 13th. And your 7-year-old self is like, it was really scary. He was wearing a hockey mask and he was killing people. And your 21-year-old self is like, whatever. It was cheesy. And they do Friday the 13th and like Halloween. And then it's like, the kid's like, nothing really happened in this movie. They were just alone in a hotel, and then like he froze to death at the end. And your 21-year-old self is like, The Shining is the fucking scariest fucking movie I've ever seen. I didn't
Yeah.
sleep for a week, and it's because The Shining gets inside your fucking head.
Right.
And
The Shining's fucked me up when I was a kid.
well,
I mean, yeah, it's also like gruesome and kind of like
Well, the
terrifying.
father's
yeah.
the
I mean,
child
the
can
ex-
tell the father's going out of his fucking mind and trying to kill his family. I mean,
Yeah.
that's
well, yeah, I think.
a bad example.
But I mean, the thing is that psychological horror, I think, is. I agree, but I think
way
that,
harder.
I think
Yeah,
that
no, for sure.
In
You
the
gotta
90s,
you gotta think more about it. It's
Yeah.
not like you said. It's not simple.
Right.
and at that time, you couldn't have gore like that in DC. You couldn't have gore
No,
like that in
no.
Marvel. So, these guys are just like, oh, I'm going to fucking blow a gaping hole in this guy's
Well,
chest.
you also, you have movies in the box office. You have stuff like Die Hard and Lethal Weapon that are like incredibly violent, and
Sure.
it was like kind of groundbreaking at the time for the same reason.
Yeah.
Because it was like we're gonna get away from like old Hays Code stuff, and
Right,
just like what's the film one? The Hays Code? Or that was the comic book.
No, the Hays Code was film.
Okay, yeah,
And
like,
we had
What
been
was
breaking
the comic book one?
the comic book was just
Comics Code Authority?
It was just the Comics
Oh, yeah,
Code Authority.
Comic
Yeah,
Code.
was that it?
But
Okay.
both of those fell out of prominence. Although the Comics Code held on for longer.
I remember that being a big thing.
Well,
Yeah.
this is the weird thing to me is like when we were buying comics in the 90s, Marvel and DC still had those fucking stamps on them.
Yeah.
Like I have comics at home, single issues that still have those stamps on them.
Yeah.
And, you had other places that were just like, fuck this. We don't like.
Yeah.
Well,
And
there's a lot of the
Alan Moore.
reason why like these smaller companies like Malibu and Image and stuff could like show the violence
Yeah.
that they showed.
I always thought it's funny because even at like 15, 16, I would read Image and be like, you're going to show the violence, but you're not going to show me any boobies? That's bullshit.
Well, that's Welcome to America.
Right. And I was like, even then I was like, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
I think everybody would much rather see boobies.
Yeah. Well, but also, I mean, this is a whole other debate for another day probably, but like what's the psychological ramification of seeing a pair of tits versus like seeing a guy just shot
Oh,
to
right.
death?
No,
Like,
totally.
is there like isn't there kind of a difference there? Like
Yeah.
in America,
Maybe one offsets the other.
yeah, and in like
And that's why we have so many school shootings.
yeah. And in one case, like, moms against video games will come out anytime there's a sex scene in a video game, and they're like, shut down Grand Theft Auto because there's sex in it. And it's like, I just murdered 40 people.
No,
Yeah.
that's
Like,
okay.
innocent people.
The
Are you
fact
okay
that
with
I just walked into a
Literally
city square with a flamethrower.
Working at a video game store and selling video games to parents is like the most infuriating thing ever because you'll be like, yeah, you massacre like an entire country in this game. Like,
Yeah.
you just genocide.
It's okay, they're
everyone.
black people.
And they're like,
Call of
that's
Duty is
fine,
okay
that's
because
fine.
there's no
Their dad
sex in
plays
it.
it. And I'm like, okay. And then they're like, but does it have sex in it? And I'm like, no. But should that matter? Like,
Do you have sex?
there's a genociding.
Yeah.
You're a genocider. That's fine. Okay.
You killed 3,000 people by the time the game is over, but there's no sex in it, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, man, what you need to do is you need to go outside.
Glad you got your priorities.
You just need to
straight.
keep walking until you're hit by some large vehicle.
Please don't make any more babies.
Don't make it more. And I mean, like,
I get it. Like parents want to protect their kids.
Yeah,
from,
there's
like,
the innocence factor, but
Yeah.
I mean, but the
a lot of it, I feel like, is laziness, right? Like the reason you want your kid to see sex is because then you'd have to explain it to him. Where
Well,
like
and
you
I
don't
think-
have to explain
Yeah.
violence
Well,
to
I
a
think
kid.
that no, I think the thing is this. I think that there's this idea that like if you expose your kids to sex, they'll be curious about sex, and then they'll go out and have sex. There's
Well, wait,
no.
did you
thing-
forget what it was like to be 12 because
Yeah.
you were
Yeah.
like already
Well,
curious
then that's
about
the
sex?
thing.
Like, you
It's
didn't
just
need to see a
like,
boob
yeah,
to go like, I think I want to see a boob. Like you
Well, you-
already kind of knew that at like 10. You knew
Yeah.
I think the whole thing is at 12. Like, I didn't need to see the actual boob. Knowing that the boob was there was more than enough for me. It was like,
that. Yeah, I mean,
but nobody's worried about like the whole idea that. Well, aren't they going to be curious about violence then, or like?
Yeah, exactly,
Aren't they going
right?
to be
Like-
desensitized to that?
Yeah, what is that teaching them about? Yeah, solving your problems.
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, there's so many movies that like I really disagree with on a fundamental level because the answer to solving everyone's problem is just like shoot them better.
Well, here's the deal. I think is show your kids whatever the hell you want, but talk
Right.
to them.
Yeah.
Well,
teach
and
them.
that's-
I think if you're paying attention, then I mean, you don't have to worry about the sex and the violence because not that you should be letting your 6-year-old watch The Walking Dead or something. I mean, there are some subject matters that are a little bit advanced, but yeah, I whatever. As
Yeah.
long as you're fucking paying attention to your children.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's the thing. I definitely, and I mean, as a parent, I've definitely found it to be the case. It's like, talk to your fucking kid.
Yeah.
And not like they're a little moron.
No,
Talk to
yeah.
them like they're a person.
Yeah.
And be like, I don't let Audrey watch Game of Thrones, not because there's violence and sex on it, but because the nature of those two things, I think, would be a little bit. It's very hard to explain the reasons of those things. It's
Yeah.
very hard to explain, like, the subtleties of that thing to
Right.
her.
I mean, she's what, 12 now?
13.
I read the books when I was 16 or 17.
And I think
so, like,
16,
she's
yeah.
close.
She's getting close. I've told her at 16 she can read
She's
Sandman,
fairly precocious.
Transmet, all the stuff that, like, I won't let her read now
Yeah.
when she's 16 because at that time it'll be a little bit, I think,
Well, I think
easier
she'll
for her.
get more out of it then, too.
Oh, absolutely. Well, that's the other thing.
Because there's a lot of stuff that I read and watched as a young kid when I was, like, quote-unquote, not ready to watch those things. And the thing that I remember most about them is not that it was like, whoa, this content is blowing my mind. It was like,
I don't get it.
I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah,
and so I have
absolutely.
no way to, like, rationalize what's happening in front of me.
Yeah.
And now as an adult, like, I can understand why people didn't want me to watch those things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think if for nothing else, so you don't have, like you said, you don't have to explain it. 'Cause
Well,
that's
and
annoying.
I really think that's the thing. Like, I see and I mean, I know a lot of parents that are awesome parents and that are really like into their kids and really want to be a part of their kids' lives and talk to their kids. But I also see more people just in everyday life that are just, this is my kid. I had the kid because I think that's what I'm supposed to do, and I don't really want anything to do with the kid now. And it's like,
Yeah.
your kid just hit somebody with a baseball bat. Maybe you should go and like
Maybe have a few words with them.
You know,
Yeah.
just maybe be involved in what's going on with them and stuff. But that's I you know.
I mean, I'm not a parent, but I understand that parenting's very hard. But
Totally.
bottom line, you just have to give a shit, right? Like,
Yeah, I think that's
It's really weird that in most things, giving a shit helps a great deal.
yeah, like if you want your kid, you know, and you like care about them and want them to succeed in life and do good things, like you'll give a shit and you'll help them.
Totally.
And I think that's important, and you'll help them like understand the world at large. But I've always been confused why nudity is so
Yeah.
just, and that's America.
Definitely, when you said that
Yeah.
definitely triggered something. Yeah, I mean that seems to be primarily American. Is,
I agree.
you know, is stigmatizing sex so much. You know, I mean, just the
And
act of
just
sex.
nudity.
Yeah.
It's like that's just a body. That's the human body.
Yeah,
Like,
right?
pretty much everyone's got one.
yeah.
Most people have
Some
them.
people
The
have-
people that aren't walking around as disembodied heads don't have them. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
other than that.
I don't want to discriminate to anyone listening, but most people have a body, and like, I don't think that's that weird.
No.
No,
not at all.
And I just like, the older I get, the more I'm just like, why is it such a taboo?
I mean, I definitely wonder if part of it is just that, like, drawing a naked body is harder than drawing a clothed body.
I don't know that. No,
I
I
don't
just
think that
mean,
has
like,
anything
Do you,
to do with
do you
it at all.
not think that's a thing?
I think like
Does anybody listening want to weigh in? I don't know.
I don't know, man.
It's close
I
would
think
be.
it's Christian values, man.
It's
Well, I
it's
think-
Puritan,
yeah,
like
absolutely.
Puritans.
I
Like
think so, too.
Early
Which-
settlers of America.
You're
which-
not supposed to see anyone naked but your, husband or ex or wife. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like
And the funny thing to me about that is just that a lot of these books, especially now, you'll get books with. One of the reasons I like Howard Chaykin so much, or like Matt Fraction, is they're not afraid to go all the way with it. It's just
Raccoons has dongs in it.
like, right on.
I mean,
Right
that's
on. No, that's awesome.
like that's a
But-
massive. You wouldn't see that in the 90s.
No. Oh, God,
No,
no.
So, I don't know.
maybe in those kinds of comics.
Well, yeah, but like Raccoons is a mainstream image book sold on the stands next to Spawn,
And there
Yep.
are penises in it.
and there's a penis in it, at least one
Right on.
that I
Rat
can
Queen,
remember.
if you have not read Rat, you would probably love it. It's
You
great.
dig Raccoons,
It's so good. But I think the thing
because
is,
there's penises in it, Chris.
Totally.
That's what
I'm
we're
all
saying.
about penis.
That's why I read it.
I find it interesting because you even see it nowadays. You'll have like a ton of violence, a ton of profanity, and then like no nudity, even though there is overt sexuality going on, right? It's like, really? This is what we're doing.
Well,
huh?
there's nudity too. Like a lot of times, it doesn't feel natural because it feels gratuitous.
Well,
Yeah,
that's
well,
the
it
other
is
thing,
gratuitous.
I
a
mean,
lot of
and
times.
and then like I don't know if that's me or if that's just like that's how they're portraying it.
Well-
I'm watching. I've mentioned this on previous episodes of the show because it's taken me like a week to watch this movie. But I'm watching Days of Future Past right now,
Oh,
and I just have ADD, so it's hard for me to get through movies. But
That's
the
fair.
gratuitous nudity.
I don't remember nudity in that.
It's Wolverine.
Oh, well,
It's just
come
like
on.
for like 4 minutes, and I'm just like, man, he's so
He's
veiny.
veiny.
He's
That's what
so
happens when
veiny.
you fucking inject steroids.
Yeah, and he's
Hugh jacked man.
he's like getting out of bed, and it's just like for like a long time the camera is just hanging out, and it's not that I'm uncomfortable looking at a naked
There was almost
dude.
wiener
It's
there.
just like
Yeah.
I was actually surprised there wasn't, to be honest.
Totally. At least some pubes, man.
But
Give me some pubes.
yeah,
He doesn't have any pubes.
but
That's American.
He's got it all
can't
on his chest.
You can't definitively say that. But it
No, he
was
called
just-
me the other day. He's like, no, I don't have any pubes
Yeah,
anymore.
no
I was
more
like,
pubes.
Hugh, why are you telling me this? Also, how did you get my number? Also, when did I meet you? How the fuck
What
did
are
I
you doing?
Like, I'm not
traveled-
getting enough out of this
I've
friendship.
traveled back in
apparently.
time to talk to you. Why?
About
Because
my-
you sent me. Okay.
You
Thanks,
told me
Hugh.
not to do Australia.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just like it felt like the way that it's portrayed on film was not just that there was nudity, but that it was also like gratuitous.
Look at the fitness program that Mr. Jackman has been following.
Right. And
It's titillation.
right. And
There's nothing natural about it. And like we talk about this on the tarot back matter too. It's all about titillation.
And
that's-
I'm not calling it out because it's like a naked dude and that makes me uncomfortable. I think that it's
No.
like, oh, why would they do that to a dude? But they
I mean,
should do it to
believe
ladies.
me, Chard has no problem with naked.
I
dudes,
don't
all right?
have any problem with it.
I don't think anyone in this room does.
No, I mean we're naked right now,
Yeah, always, every time we record.
hot, man.
But
especially during the summer, man. It's just like
there's just something to think about the way that like how a director points his lens at something and like how the editing process works, because I know that that's all deliberate. Like there's no accident that scene was that long or shot in
Right,
that specific way. Like that, all of that there was intent behind it. And I think that if we look at nudity in the way it's portrayed in film and comic books and media, is like, what's the intent behind why?
yeah, absolutely.
Because it's just like you can't show just like, you know, people naked like getting ready for work or like taking a shower or something without it being like in some way feeling gratuitous based on the way that the camera is moving.
Well,
'Cause if
and
it was just like in the background during a scene of dialogue,
Right.
like it would feel a lot more natural and feel like a
There's-
lot less uncomfortable.
There's
like
definitely
the dialogue cuts out. It's just like
It's very
it's like,
sensually shot.
This is what you're. Pay attention to this specific moment.
There's two scenes that come to mind. There's a movie, or there's an Altman movie, Robert Altman movie called Shortcuts, and in the end, fucking
What's it? Julianne Moore?
yeah, does an entire scene sans pants, just like muff to the
pants.
world.
But she's arguing with her lover.
But yeah, and it's the least sexy thing I've ever seen because she's arguing. She's basically just confessed that she had an affair to her lover, and like it's very real,
Right.
Because like that's how that shit happens. You
Right.
know, it's not like nobody gets.
She wasn't having an affair. She was
or she
recounting,
boned some guy.
Yeah, she
And,
was recounting
like,
some
she-
affairs. Not an
yeah.
affair, but like a sexual encounter.
Yeah. I think specifically
She wasn't cheating on him.
I don't know how I remember this, but I'm pretty sure what happened is their car broke down and they ended up fucking in the car or something like that.
Right.
But there's another one in Fallen Angels by Wong Kar-wai. It's an entire masturbation scene with this woman, and it's just like the least. It's not sexy at all. It's desperate and it's sad and it's kind of tragic and awful.
That's my favorite kind of masturbation scene.
Well, I mean, mine too, but you know,
It's the
like
only way I
to
know how
the
to
average
masturbate.
viewer, and it really is about intent.
Well, yeah,
it totally
absolutely.
is about intent.
Because
And
think about what's the movie Trading Places?
Trading
Trading
Places,
Places.
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like in the middle of that movie, like for no reason
Boobies.
other
Titties.
than
She's famous for her tits.
right, they want was it Jamie Lee
Curtis,
in
man.
that movie?
I watched
to
that
take-
scene and immediately had puberty. It all happened. Like,
Well,
right
and
during that, like,
the
5
first time I
seconds.
watched that movie was on TV, so like some of the scenes are missing, obviously,
Right.
because of that, and I didn't notice. But like going back and watching it as an adult, I was like, "Why is this scene in here again?"
Yeah.
Because it's unnecessary.
Absolutely.
No, absolutely.
Like it adds nothing to the film other than like
It was
now
not even
there's
like a
some
natural.
boobs.
Yeah.
no.
It's not even like this person should be getting undressed.
But
right
she's a
now.
prostitute, but like that doesn't.
Yeah, but she's not sleeping with him.
Right.
She's actually making a point to say she's not going to sleep.
Right.
You sleep on because
Yeah.
she covers her boobs and then she turns around and says, "You sleep on the
Well,
couch."
after
and
she
closes the
flashes
door.
him in the mirror.
Well, yeah,
Right.
that's fair.
It's weird. It's a weird scene.
Well, and a lot of it is like that, and it's even more so in comic books. It's very
Oh, yeah.
rarely that you see that shit in comic books. And I think my biggest problem with it is that a lot of the time it's like, well, she's not naked. She's just basically wearing like a skin-tight,
leotard all the
nanometer
time.
thick
Yeah.
leotard that shows every fucking curve of her body.
Right.
It's kind of like...
It's part of the reason why I really like the new Marvel designs on characters like Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel. Is because it's like,
they
whoa,
look...
they're female characters that aren't wearing skin-tight jumpsuits.
Yeah.
Like, that's interesting.
Well, Ms.
Right,
Marvel's new costume looks like a flight suit, kind
Right,
of.
she looks like she's
it looks
wearing
it has
like a
substance.
uniform.
I've said this before, one of my favorite things about the new Birds of Prey from the new 52 was that everybody, like, Black Canary, she was wearing fucking, like, sparring gear.
Yeah.
She looked like she was getting ready to go out and kick somebody's ass.
Yeah, like, why does Batman get to wear armor, but then, like, Batgirl has to wear, like,
A
skin-tight...
bra and panties.
Right, and then now she's got this, like, way hipper, like, leather jacket outfit on, and so I think that in a lot of ways, it's starting to come around,
Oh, I agree.
but for the longest time, like, spandex was kind of the jam in
Go-to.
comic books. Like, even the dudes wore...
Which,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
think about, like, Wolverine and
But
Cyclops
you don't see a lot of
hanging out.
package hanging out or anything. There are
I mean,
tits and everything.
unfortunately,
Well, that's
no.
the thing. Although I will say this, since we're talking about 90s comics, do you remember the Marvel swimsuit editions?
Yeah.
You remember there were definitely a few, like, full page, like 2-page fucking splashes of, like, there's one of Namor wearing a fucking, like, banana hammock. And then
Yeah.
there was one of
As
the
he would.
Punisher, and it was just a skull over his fucking package. And I remember seeing that and just, like, as I got older, being like, you know what? This is very egalitarian of you, Marvel
Yeah,
Comics.
you'd sort of respect that.
I was like, okay, you know what? I mean, yeah, like the other 50 pages are filled with half-naked women, but hey, dude, you know what?
Yeah,
right on.
you tried.
Yeah.
You know. And even in the Winter
for effort.
in the Winter Soldier, there's a few scenes that are like much more. You know, I think the men are kind of sexualized a little more than they normally are in action
What are
movies.
you talking? That whole movie is fucking sexualized towards Captain America.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
he's
the first,
hot.
one of the
I
first
do.
introductions you get to like Captain America outside the soldier uniform when he's like punching the punching bag. That like infamous scene of him punching the punching bag from behind where his butt's all shaking and he's like all muscle.
Oh, there's no shake there. That's
like
all muscle.
Yeah, he like that's very intentional.
Oh, absolutely.
And like not only does it make him kind of look like a badass, but it also is there for a little fan service for the ladies.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
which I
for sure.
thought is cool. Marvel is definitely acknowledging that, you know, they're making movies
and
for
I
everybody.
don't know that what I'm trying to say is that like, oh, let's make it equal for every set in nudity weird, you know, gratuitous scene they have of a naked lady. Let's have an equally weird gratuitous scene of a naked man.
Well,
I'm just
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
like,
Let's think
I
about the
think-
let's
nudity.
think about what the nudity represents.
There's I criticize, and I have not watched Girls at all. Lena Dunham's series, Lena Dunham's series. But one of the constant criticisms I hear about it is that people are always naked on that show, and like, but it's not the sexy kind.
Yeah,
Right?
people are naked
And,
a lot
like-
in real life too, though.
Well, and that's exactly what her response is. It's like people change their clothes, people take showers,
Yeah.
people go to the bathroom. There's a lot of time you spend when you're
I
not.
kind of would be naked a lot more, you know,
Whatever.
if I didn't have roommates or like,
Well, you
large
also live in-
windows.
If I could keep my
Washington.
house as
Yeah.
warm as I
Yeah.
warm, then I'd probably
yeah.
I mean, I definitely have spent summer days that I have off and just
I often will come over and you're just like in shorts.
in
and that's
flagrant,
it.
just
And
one
I'm
step away from in
I'm-
flagrante delicto.
Yeah, I'm one day I'm gonna walk in and you're just gonna be naked in
Just
the house,
splayed.
just hanging out. and being like, "What's up? No one else
dear
is home." And I'm like, "Well, I'm glad no one's home."
Hold on, let me get a blanket, and I'll get up and walk sexily across
Yeah.
the room and grab a
The
blanket.
the camera will follow your butt, and then the music will like cut out for some weird reason.
lighting
and
will be
it's, like,
perfect.
Really,
The lighting
really
will be
quiet
perfect.
and eerie, and I feel weird for watching it. Yeah.
Okay. As the camera slides down the flat space where my ass should be in a
Right.
normal person.
Is that more leg? What is that? Oh, that's his back now. What happened to
Yep,
this butt?
no ass at all.
Just a tiny little Hank Hill butt.
I've got a tiny little butt.
That's not true.
It's true. It's fucking true.
Spawn, though.
Oh no!
Let's talk about Spawn.
So here's the
Talk about nudity,
Bringing
because-
this full circle.
Because I wanted to talk about a little bit about how like stuff is portrayed in this, and I said last week or whenever this comes out, I said on the Paradise X episode that like one of my least favorite motivations for male characters is like, let's go get my girlfriend back.
Yes.
And like that's kind of what Spawn is, but at the same
Yeah,
time, it's like
big
a
time.
very different situation than that because she's not his girlfriend anymore.
No,
She's not even
she's
his
totally
wife
moved on.
anymore. She's remarried. It's been 5 years, and she has a kid now.
Yeah.
Like, he still loves her, but he's not trying to get her back. He just misses her.
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like the
Well, he-
whole. Go ahead.
I don't know. There is definitely a theme of like he wants to solve something, but I guess I mean,
he misses her. Like it's clear that he's like he asks about her. He goes to see her.
Yeah.
He's like he's obsessed, kind of, but it's because the last thing he remembers before coming back was he was happily married. And
Right.
Well, and I think it's not quite. I mean, it's kind of like the "let's go get my girlfriend" trope is kind of shoots off of this one, which is like the "let's go get my old life back" trope.
Right.
And I don't think it's as egregious in this because a lot of other shit is happening, but you see it in movies all the time. It's like somebody comes back or somebody, they spend a lot of time trying to get their old life back, even though they've kind of moved past it. And it's like, why are you doing this? You just spent 30, 45 minutes of this movie or show or whatever, like moving backwards. Why would I understand that the mind doesn't let go. But
I always like the idea of it comes up in Castaway. It's in the video game Police Knots, but they've been gone for a long time. So Castaway's on the island for several years. His wife thinks he's dead. She moves on.
Oh yeah.
Right? And then but he didn't move on.
No,
because the reason he wants to get off the island is because he doesn't want to fucking be there anymore, and he's like, I want my life back. I want to go back to the way things were.
Right.
But he's been gone for so long that
everybody thinks he's dead.
Everyone else, the world moves on when you're gone, and so I think that that's kind of an interesting look at that, and I think that that's kind of what's cool about this book is at no point is he ever trying to sabotage his best friend's marriage.
No, he's a little stocky.
Yeah, well, definitely. He shows up disguised as a white. My favorite moment in this book ever, though, is when he wears the costume. He's got the mask on, but then he's got a trench coat and a hat on over the top of that. I love it anytime comic book characters wear other stuff over the top of their costume. It's literally my favorite thing. When Batman's in space with a spacesuit on, over the bat suit is the greatest thing that could ever happen in a comic book.
No,
I love it so much.
I tend to think of it as a Thing special because the Thing would always do that to go out to visit Yancey Street.
Well,
he'd put on
Raphael
huge...
does it too.
Yeah,
in Ninja Turtles.
But,
does
Batman have his cape inside the suit or outside?
I would hope that he rolls it up and tucks it in.
He's got a little pouch at the base of the coat.
Doesn't hang off the outside of the suit.
I mean, he's probably got another one on that's attached to the suit. So he's wearing one inside, so if he gets inside a space station, he can unzip it and still be wearing the thing.
Ready.
But there's also one attached to the spacesuit to let everyone know that he's Batman.
The best thing is when you see Superman in a spacesuit and you're like, what the fuck are you doing in there?
Yeah.
You don't need to be in there.
You don't get out of there.
I don't understand. It's solidarity.
Does he really? Does he wear spacesuits?
Every once in a while, you can find Superman in a spacesuit. It's very strange.
Seems odd.
But yeah, no, it's the Thing will be I'm going to go and put on the world's biggest fucking trench coat because, my shoulders are 7 feet wide at this point. And a hat that was clearly made special order for me because,
my head is the size of a large
I'm going to
boulder.
go and walk around and nobody is going to notice that I'm a fucking 7 foot tall man made out of bricks.
Well, he is in New York, though.
That is fair. That actually is a good observation.
I love that. I love it. So Spawn does it, and I saw that, and I was just like, yes! I do like the book because it's campy.
It is
part of my love for
campy.
it was I thought it was going to be all grimdark, shitty all the time.
No, it isn't.
And it's not. It's actually funny. And there's some
a lot of
clever weirdness to it. I like the Violator as the small fat clown guy as the Juggalo, and then he transforms into the Violator, and then as punishment they're like, yeah, you can't do that anymore. So he's now just a weird clown guy, and he's like, damn it, why did you make me be like this?
Well,
and it's funny.
That was the weirdest thing for me going back is that I remember
the New 52.
Yeah, I expected grimdark, but it really is campy, and it embraces. There's certain parts where it embraces its campiness.
Charming, funny things that go on in there.
And also, Spawn may have been one of the best designed characters of that era because he did not have pouches everywhere.
He does though. When he puts on all the guns,
but he's got the knife holster there, and I'm like, okay, that's an awful place for it unless it's stuck to you because it's going to slide down because your leg is narrower towards the knee than it is at the hip. And so gravity pulls on everything, right? So this is just the way it works. But he's got Velcro there, whatever. But that's the only time you see it. Rob Liefeld had Spawn. He'd just have had pouches on his biceps and
My favorite part of the book is my favorite and least favorite part of the whole Spawn as part of the Image universe thing is like I hate that they bring up Youngbloods like every 4 seconds, and I get it because that was the popular book. That was the
well,
one.
and those were also what they called mutants in
Right.
the Image universe.
But I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But I do love the Savage Dragon moment where the kids are like, there he is, there's that new superhero. And they're like running towards Spawn when he's in the trench coat. And they're like, how did they know? And then they like run past him to Savage Dragons on the TV.
Yeah.
And I love Savage Dragon. So that was so cool. I was like, yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of interesting I mean, like, how did it, aside from the obscene amounts of exposition, which is actually it's still not as bad as Avengers Forever.
Or Dark Knight Returns.
Or, well, okay, yeah, that's also true. But, like, aside from that, like, how do you feel this held up? Like, did it still have moments for you?
Oh, yeah. Well, as a kid, yeah. I mean, I went back and reread so as a teenager, I probably got into, like, issue 40, got up about that high. Mm-hmm. And it started to devolve. I mean, what kept me coming back at that point was, there was promises of like what's going to happen when the timer runs out, or and I wasn't thinking that far ahead. The art was cool, and I mean, it was there was the whole concept. I guess I was a sucker for it. The whole concept of he made the deal with the devil, and now he's damned. And how is he going to fuck the devil over now? Okay, great. Let's see that happen.
Mm-hmm. Can we get back to that part?
So I mean, yeah, it was cool for me then. When I reread it recently, it's super gimmicky, and I like when I read things or watch things for entertainment. I want to be lost in it. I don't want you to know that. I don't want to know that you're trying to make me feel this way, or and I feel like there was a lot of that in this book.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's fair. Yeah, there's a lot of manipulation going on here. But go ahead.
No, yeah. So I mean, yeah. Overall, though, as a younger guy, I totally loved it.
Yeah,
I find myself wondering on the reread how much of this was. I think Todd McFarlane had a lot more of an idea than some people do. Like when he sat down to do this. But I also wonder how much of it was him getting lost in the whole, this is going to be so cool. This is going to be so cool. Because there is we see Cagliostro. We see him.
Yeah. Whoa, that was a real, for me, that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, wow, this guy, who is this guy? Or is he going to bust out with some Spawn shit?
Yeah, right. And he definitely comes back and
is he in the first 12 issues?
Yeah, he's in the last, he's in
he's in
a few of them.
The old bum that seems to know.
Yeah, they calls him Mr.
Because he's in the Angela. Yeah, he calls him Mr.
Angela,
Simmons.
And he calls him Mr. Simmons.
The source of another.
He also calls him Hell's Pawn, doesn't he? Instead of Hell's Spawn.
Yeah. No, he definitely does. And or maybe that's Angela.
No, it's him.
It is him. So he comes back.
Oh no, wait, that's Houdini in another.
And that's the thing, right? Cagliostro comes back at one point, and is teaching Spawn, hey, listen, you can if you concentrate, and you know how you're doing it, you can do little things without tapping into your power.
Well, he makes the wine, right?
Yeah.
In the early issues, he teaches him how to make wine for all the
using his costume's power instead of his.
And then Angela shows up it's in issue 9. It's in issue 9, and Angela shows up, and they start fighting, and then he bounces,
and then they have sex, don't they? No.
Well, that's in the Angela
miniseries.
Yeah. But he comes back in the second year in subsequent issues.
Yeah.
And there's this whole he's teaching Spawn how to kind of subvert the thing, and then Houdini comes back, and I think it's Houdini who's you can get out of this. There's a way that you can get out of this.
Yeah.
But then I stopped reading after that, and I asked somebody the other day, I was like,
that's about the time.
Was there ever a thing? Did it ever go anywhere? And they're like, no, not really. And it's I think,
What disappoints me about that is not that Todd McFarlane created this character of Spawn, but that when he handed it off to writers, it feels like he may have handed it off to the wrong people. I don't know because I haven't read that stuff, but it's
And I find myself...
He definitely turns into a crime fighter. Like a typical, the point of the story originally is for him to solve this issue where he's got this power draining, and eventually he's going to become a slave to the devil. And he eventually does solve that, and then the book has to continue, and it continues in a way where he's just another vigilante.
But I like some of the vigilante moments in the early books. Like there's the woman about to get raped, and he like kills all those guys. And then he takes the child molester and just like strings him up inside Sam and Twitch's apartment.
Yeah, with the popsicle sticks.
Which is an interesting episode for me because I read that and I kind of, after I was finished, I was like, this would have taken 6 issues to do these now.
Right.
If that book came out now, like last year, that would have been a 6-issue arc. And depending on who was writing it, it would have gotten a lot worse, you know? But,
I like Sam and Twitch too.
They got their own book
away,
eventually.
Issue 1.
Yeah.
They eventually got their own miniseries, I think.
They got
trades,
at least.
Well, I think they actually got their own ongoing.
Cool.
But I think the thing is, when you look at a book like Transmet, when you look at a book like, you know, something like Preacher or 100 Bullets or whatever, this was clear. There was an arc there, right?
Yeah.
Like Warren Ellis wanted to tell this one story about Spider Jerusalem, even though there's a lot more going on, even though there's probably stuff that happened after, whatever. And he told it.
Right.
I think Todd McFarlane had an idea for a character and a story he wanted to tell. I don't think he ever envisioned an ending.
No.
And so because of that, but
how can you though? I mean,
well, and that's the thing. It's like, I think the problem is not necessarily either one of those things. It's that the story he wanted to tell had an ending.
Well, I don't know that he really wanted to tell like a significant story because I think it was more about let's create this awesome character and let's see what we can have them do. And very much in the nature of serialized modern superhero comics.
Yeah.
It was like, and this will go forever. Like, I'm going to create an iconic character that can go longer than Superman. Like, I think that that's kind of what his intention was he's like, I want to create a character
feels that way.
That'll be there forever. So, like, it feels like the early issues are just, like, cool one-shotty stuff. Like, he's building the universe a little bit. He's got all these other creators in to kind of flesh out the universe for him because he I think even then knew that he didn't have...
That was not his strength?
Yeah, he didn't have the skill that Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman... And to be fair, like, not a lot of people do, so that's okay.
Well, and even
Definitely
Alan Moore doesn't
storytelling.
anymore.
I mean, Todd McFarlane was a penciler.
Yeah, exactly. And I think he knew that. I think he knew he was like, I can draw the fucking coolest book ever. And the images are great.
They're
and
amazing.
looking at this compared to what else was coming out in the 90s, like, I get why this was huge.
Oh,
Like,
God,
the digital color, like, they found colorists that knew what the fuck they were doing.
Yeah.
And weren't just, like, heavily oversaturating every page. There's, like, subtlety. There's, like... And there's not just like Photoshop gradient effects on everything. Like they're actually like doing some pretty sophisticated coloring.
Oh, absolutely.
For a book that the technology at the time was still like in its infancy.
Well, yeah, and this is one of the first places you saw digital coloring like that.
Well, and because I think they
stunning.
knew what could be done with it.
Oh.
And
well,
so,
I think they wanted to push the envelope too.
Oh, absolutely.
They really
because
wanted to see...
you listen to stuff like Marvel and DC were like, yeah, we're going to continue to use this specific color printing process, and like we're printing on newspaper, and we're printing through basically like this antiquated printing technique that limits the number of colors that we can possibly have to like 72 or something.
Yeah.
And so you look at books like Death of Superman, which came out like almost at the same time.
And, it doesn't
and
look
the
nearly as
colors
good.
look like fucking garbage. Like
Yeah.
regardless
No,
of whether the pencils look good or not. Like the
colors are
colors look
flat.
like they're 20 years outdated.
Yeah, they're flat, they're
And
boring. It really
Image,
is.
as a company of artists, knew like, no, we're gonna print this the way you would print like a photo magazine, like
Sure.
full color, digital, like really nice
I think that was
colors.
their thing, man.
Yeah, and absolutely. And so they were artists, and the art is on display at the best possible quality it can be on display. And Marvel and DC do that now, but at that time they had no idea.
Sure.
Like they didn't. I don't think they understood the capacity of comic book art as a draw for people, for
Right,
artists, you know.
right.
And so,
well, the interesting thing to me is you look at Image, and Image was started almost exclusively by artists.
100% by artists.
Yeah, and
there were
well,
7 artists.
I mean, yeah. You had, and not a lot of them had a lot of writing credit. Todd
Right.
McFarlane had definitely written Spider-Man.
I think Eric Larson
had written
some
Spider-Man?
stuff.
Yeah, no, he definitely had.
He wrote some weird
He
issues.
wrote the first. It was Spider-Man #1, the self-titled. It was not like Web of Spider-Man or anything like that. It was just Spider-Man, and he wrote I want to say the first year. I might be wrong about that. I'm sure somebody will correct me if I am.
I knew he'd written like some issues on
But,
and off, but
Valiant was started almost exclusively by
writers.
or people that had worked on both. Like Barry Windsor Smith was big in that early Valiant period, and he had done both sides. He was a penciler, but he had also written a great deal at that point, including the one of the original origin for Wolverine, I guess, when it was like memory plants and Weapon X. Yeah, and like
the
a lot
Wolverine
of that
miniseries was that?
No, he was doing it in Marvel Comics Presents at that
Frank
point.
Miller.
Which one? Oh, the Wolverine miniseries was
miniseries.
Frank Miller,
Yeah, that's
which is really interesting. I should bring that to the podcast sometime.
You should. I'd be down.
Holy shit! But and it really shows like where the colors and the art at Valiant were not. They didn't pop. I mean, they definitely got the job done, but yeah, they weren't. They were telling much more multifaceted stories and kind of interwoven narratives. The one that comes closest was Exo Manowar.
I was just going to say that.
Was the most visually stunning book.
Yeah.
And then Joe Quesada, and it's because Joe Quesada was doing the art on that because he worked for Valiant for a while. And then he did Ninjak for a while, which was another really visually stunning book. But like Image was always popping in that area. Like, and I think it's because you had people.
They were all artists.
Yeah, they understood the importance of like that first look. So when you look at the cover,
showcase what the medium was what it was possible to do in the medium. And I mean, they were doing a lot of shady shit in the 90s too, like soliciting books for Diamond, and if they didn't get over a certain threshold of orders, they would just cancel the book before it even came out.
Wow.
But this is also the era of the X-Men #1, which sold some insane amount. It's one of the best selling. It is the most best-selling comic of all time.
It's a cool comic.
Yeah, and I mean, it had fucking 5 goddamn variants.
Yeah. But I mean, that was what they were doing. You know, is they were like, it was the speculators' market, and so they would launch a new series, a new #1 series, and they would
with a foil cover.
They would wait to see. They released the art. They released the art cover of that image, and they would see if it got like 1 million pre-orders, and if it didn't, then they wouldn't put it out.
They would scrap it. Yeah.
And so, I mean, like they only
which is why the fucking industry was in trouble.
It is exactly why the industry was in trouble. And it's why Diamond was in a lot of
bad.
Yeah. And it's part of the reason why when people are like still talking about comic books as collector's item, I'm like, just get what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, stop, go away. Everyone who comes into comic book stores to sell their copy of Spawn #1 for 84 cents, like, you did a good job. You really made bank on that investment of $1.75.
It's like, you know, people will be, and even myself sometimes I'll like look on Amazon for something I want to buy, and I'm like, or something I have, just to wonder, you know, if I can pick up another copy of it or something. And it'll be like, oh, you know, used from $300, and I'm like, well, try getting that.
Yeah,
it's one thing to say this is worth whatever. It's another thing to be like, well, I got this much for it.
Yeah, that's you know, actual value versus like forecasted value. You know,
yeah.
It's like, oh, it's worth $300, and you're like, yeah, but what would someone pay for that? Yeah, it's like you have to find a buyer, right? So
yeah, and there are a lot of Spawn #1s floating around.
There's 1 million copies of them.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it literally sold 1 million
there's
copies.
Literally 1 million,
and there still are 1 million copies. Like, Action Comics sold 1 million comics. Like, Action Comics #1 with Superman sold over 1 million copies. But there are not 1 million of them left. Like, that's why they're rare.
Well, it made it through a fucking world war.
There are 6 left, and
that are high quality.
Yeah, that are
readable.
Well, I mean,
like in pretty good
in a piece of lucite. So they're essentially a paperweight that costs $1 million.
They're basically kept in a vault. Very
stupid.
similar
I agree.
To where for there are scientific measurements for every kind of thing in nature except weight. Right, the kilogram is a machined, an incredibly precisely machined sphere of, I want to say, platinum. That's kept in the Scientific Museum in Paris.
Oh, I heard that Radiolab episode.
Right? And they don't touch it. You can't fucking touch it because every time you touch it, you add weight to it in a microscope sense, right? Right next to that vault is the vault with the fucking mint edition Action Comics #1. Because you can't touch that either because it will disintegrate.
Yeah, that was a great episode.
That is, yeah. Radiolab is a great is a great thing, and you should be listening to Radiolab right after you finish this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hope a whole bunch of people didn't just
It's like,
turn
oh,
this
fuck
off.
this show. There's
Well,
another
look at new
show.
Radiolab out.
Radiolab talking about the kilogram sphere.
Fuck this shit. Yeah, I don't know. It's the comic collectors' mentality is kind of bullshit.
Well,
but
the
we
collector
talk about
mentality
we talk
is-
about it all the time. But yeah,
We do.
you take a thing that was like intended to be an entertainment purpose, and then you just like put it into a brick of lucite so no one can
Right,
enjoy
it
it and
kind of
read
defeats the purpose. Like, if you
Yeah.
can't ever read the fucking comic book, how is it worth anything?
it. Yeah, exactly. In my opinion, that makes it worthless.
I know, it's literally. I mean, it's literally worth less. I mean,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
It was intended for reading. Oh, it's like a car. If you like took all the wheels off and you're like, well, now no one can drive it and decrease the value.
Right.
And you're like, yeah, but it's also not a
The
car
value,
anymore.
the intended purpose of the thing is no longer.
I remember Harbinger #1 came out the first time around,
Mm-hmm.
and you could not find that book for less than a couple $100,
Right.
if you could find it at all. And the print run on that was somewhere around 100,000.
Yeah.
That's now if a book sells 100,000 comics in that's fucking gangbusters,
Oh yeah.
which is insane to me. But
Well, we've lowered our standards significantly on.
new 52.
Well, no, I'm just mean like you look at if you follow the diamond trending is something that I've like really tried to focus on more of because they say vote with your dollar, but like I'm curious if anyone's actually listening to whether or not the fans are voting with their dollar. Because the fans have significantly voted with their dollar that trade paperback sales, although trade paperbacks have gone up in price like very little over the last 20 years, like I have 1980s trade paperbacks that are priced $14.99. Like they were kind of always that much.
Sure.
And the increase in sales on trade paperbacks is astronomical. Like it's exponentially shooting up every year. Like more money is made off trades where the price has not really increased that much.
Right.
Spawn #1 is $1.75.
Still, right now?
Well, no, I mean like right now it's like worth 80 cents. But when it came out, it was like $1.75.
Yeah. Right.
And new comics now are like $4.
Sure.
And sales in comics have money made off of sales in comics has barely gone up,
Right.
which means we've sold significantly less comics per week than
Spawn-
we used to sell in the 90s.
Spawn
That's
#1 was
crazy.
$1.75, and it was 44 pages, most of which
There's a lot of advertising. in there.
but still, most of it
Yeah.
was story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Nowadays,
think
you buy
without
a 20
ads, because I have some of the scans and stuff. Without
have-
ads, I think it's like 30 pages.
'Cause they had ads and like fan art and shit.
Yeah, and a couple pages in the thing.
And
in
some.
the-
My favorite is the mail-in.
yeah.
That you can like mail in your orders. You know what I'm talking about? They're like the comic book catalog in the back.
Yep.
It's like, hey, you want X-Men 25?
Mile High Comics, man.
Mail in,
yeah.
Mile
write a
goes.
check to and like the internet didn't exist, and
Nope.
so it like, makes my brain hurt because I'm
It's
like, I remember that.
insane.
I remember having
Fucking old, Chard.
well, yeah, right. I remember having like a Games Workshop magazine that like before they had launched their online site and like writing out an order on an order
On
form
an order
and like
form.
mailing it in with a check.
That's
Yep.
madness.
It is
What the
mad. Now
fuck
that
are
I'm
you-
thinking about it,
what are
I'm
you
like,
even talking
that's,
about?
Now
That's
2 clicks and I'm
ridiculous.
good to go.
Yeah, buy anything now. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird to me to think about that, but that's how it was done.
Yep.
when we were
crazy.
kids.
I remember that shit.
And they would advertise in the back of comic books. It's just I don't know. I mean, where else are you going to advertise that you're selling comics? But
Yeah.
That's fair.
it's kind of crazy.
Good point.
I mean, what if they sell out? I guess this is the thing that's like they can't track their inventory. Like, what if 40 people mail in for that one issue?
They're
Like, just
I need
whoever's
Avengers
get there-
167.
Just whoever gets there first. I don't know. The business side of that just made my head hurt a little bit. Where it's just like that would be the worst. It would suck to own a business like that. To have
Yeah.
to have mail orders. Ugh.
Well, then you'd have to like call people all the time or mail them.
How
back.
did the world exist before the internet? I don't understand.
You're like, oh, I'm gonna get my Avengers Annual #10, first appearance of Rogue. Fuck yeah!
My favorite.
Sorry, we sold out of that. 2
You
weeks
just
later,
get, like a month later, you would get your check back, and they're like, "No, I'm sorry, we sold out." And you're like,
I mean-
"No."
I remember the weird thing is like I remember writing letters to people. I remember there was this girl in Texas specifically that I wrote a letter to once, and I waited a month before I realized I probably wasn't going to hear back from her ever again. Now, It's like in a
'Cause you
half an
sent
hour.
dick
I'm
pics.
pretty
You
sure I'm
sent-
never gonna
you
fucking.
sent Polaroid dick pics. Don't do that.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how we had to do it.
Yeah,
it was
you
a
had
much.
to mail a Polaroid to somebody.
It's like-
you had to wait 2 weeks to get a response on
Then
your
they
dick
write
pic.
you back,
What
and
the
then you would
world
write back going
just
like,
sucked back
"Well,
then.
now I'm, the Pony Express would have to come out."
Sexting
and
was
take,
awful in the 90s.
Oh God, it was. It took you forever. It took you fucking forever.
You
Months.
had to use pager
What are you
codes.
wearing?
Months.
Stamp, address, mail. 3 weeks later.
Might as well just use a fucking telegraph
Nothing.
at that point.
Really? Well, actually, I was wearing nothing when I got your first letter.
What's
now
up?
I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt. Hold
up?
on, let me get undressed again. What
What's
are
up?
you wearing?
What's up, baby? Stop. How are you? Stop. What are you doing? Stop. No, sometimes I forget that there was a world before. My favorite is on Facebook when kids are like, "How did people get around before Google Maps?" And it's like they used maps. No, I said before Google Maps, and you're like, I don't know how to explain to you how reality
I
works.
was talking to somebody about this the other day because we were talking about this place up in Tacoma called Frisco Freeze that I tried to find a couple times and could not find it. I'm like, now I could just Google Maps it and my
Yeah.
phone would tell me exactly where it was. But before I had to
You just get
print
lost.
out the
Yeah.
directions and it would be like, go here. And I'm like, there is no here. You're
Yeah.
telling me to go here at this point, but I'm at that point and there is no here. Now it's just like, go this way.
Yeah,
It's ironic though that using Google Maps and things like cell phones actually diminishes your ability to find places. Without,
Yeah.
I mean, like
I don't have a smartphone, so and not out of choice. I just don't own one. My friends can't get anywhere without
No.
GPS.
yeah, and then
they
the
literally-
GPS
and
goes
I'm like,
away and you're fucked.
I'm like, you've been to my house 5 times. How are you still
They've
punching it
never
into the
once
GPS?
actually paid attention. They just listened to the little voice,
That's
God
so
voice in his
weird.
phone.
Funny because I got a text this morning from somebody asking me for my address for the 5th time, even though they've been to my
That's
apartment.
why.
like
That's
6
what's. I don't know who that person is, but I feel their pain.
Because I definitely try to. I'll use the GPS to get somewhere and back, but then I try to I'm like, okay, I'm not going to use it this time. I'm going to see what I remember. I'm going to see. I'm going to see.
Well,
what
I
I can
think
do.
I actually did that this time, so maybe I can tell everybody your address if they.
Have you memorized it now?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a fun trip down the history for me. I think that's why I enjoyed it so much.
The
Just 'cause,
book? The comic
yeah,
book?
the Spawn was it was a cool trip down memory lane into the 90s.
Yeah.
and,
No, for sure.
I didn't read this at the time, so I don't have nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
And it's more of a historical
No, it
venture for me.
it
and
is.
It was cool.
Do you guys do a lot of really old?
I mean, we've done some
That's a 20-year-old fucking comic.
we've done
we've
older
done-
stuff.
we've
We've
done-
done
we've definitely
Walter
done older
Simonson's
stuff.
Thor. We've done
Yeah, that was from the 80s. ElfQuest was from the
ElfQuest,
70s.
70s.
ElfQuest shit.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
did. We did. That was one of our first long runs.
Yep. I'm trying to think of the oldest book we've done.
Long Shot was pretty old. The
Yeah.
Long Shot miniseries.
Would you guys ever be able to do this format so that people could actually call in and fucking argue with you? Because I think that would be
Well,
spectacular.
we have been asking for people to email us if they're reading ahead.
Yeah.
We don't do any streaming, so
Right.
they couldn't
Is that
respond to
expensive?
us live. No, I'm sure we could do it. I just don't know that people would actually want us to.
Oh, yeah.
If you want us to stream or
Yeah.
figure out some way in which you could tweet at us during the stream or chat
What's
at
your
us
email
on the
address?
stream.
Because I'm gonna fucking email.
Yeah, email us at contact
How
at
the
Viewfromthegutters
fuck do
or
you people
specifically
get off?
at
No.
Chard at Viewfromthegutters or tweet at us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to mention it on the main episode on Monday too, but I forgot. I don't know how Tweeter works, so a month ago I was asking what the sound effect that I
It's
use is for the
It's not Twitter.
it's Tweeter. I don't know how to use it. And I asked people to tell me what the sound effect I use for the party cheering is. Brandon Hill totally tweeted us that next day what it was, and I was like, "No one's told me yet," but I don't know how to use Tweeter. So
I made
don't-
that fantastic Mr. Fox reference a
Yeah.
few weeks ago, and somebody was like, "We got it," and I
Yeah.
was like, "What was it? I can't remember what it was." And
Yeah.
then a week later, I was like, "Oh, it was the."
We
I
also
know it
got
was
some
now.
fan art. Someone
We
drew
did.
some fan art of a joke that Joe told that he doesn't
I
remember.
cannot
telling,
remember what the
so-
joke was.
So we'll have to go
Awesome.
back and listen
It's
to
about
that.
I'm dressed
It's about
as
it's Batman making cookies.
and cookie jail. There's
Yeah,
a cookie
there's
jail.
something-
There's cookie jail in
I
there
don't know.
somewhere.
There's some kind of reference that we don't remember making. But
Is Joe funny on the podcast?
no.
No.
Oh, I'm fucking hilarious.
Because
Not
if
really.
you met Joe in real life, he'd crack you up.
No,
No, Joe's funny. It Joe's the same on the podcast.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
pretty
so.
much me. I don't have a podcast persona, much to the chagrin of Toby.
Yeah,
Some of the best shit, some of our best shit, though, and we're working on this. Some of our best shit is before Chard will start recording about 5 or 10 minutes before we actually start the episode.
No, I think that's genius.
And
Yeah.
some of
Before
that
you know you're
shit-
on.
yeah.
Some of the shit I've screamed at Toby, I think, has been some of my best shit. There's some great stuff, and just the shit we do together. Some of our cold opens are really good.
Yeah. I don't know. Brandon Hill also tweeted us that he loves that View from the Gutters and Out of the Fridge are like 30 to 40% about comic books. And
Yeah.
then there's like
Yeah, I was going to
60
say,
to
we talked
80%
about
about
maybe 10 minutes
everything in-
total about Spawn.
No, I mean, we
did.
cover. I mean, I think it would be personally behind the scenes on View from the Gutters. Personally, I think it would be boring if we were just like.
Oh, for sure.
And then on the next page, it was like this.
That's
and
the
then on
format of all podcasts
Yeah,
anyway. There's no real like honing in on the subject
Yeah.
matter. I
I
mean,
would-
there are some, I guess.
Yeah, I would rather not script it, and I would rather have the discussion kind of move
Organically.
naturally.
Well, and
Yeah.
it leaves us a place to go to. Like there are definitely times when we talk about something and people go, "I really would have liked you to talk about this," and it's like, okay, well, we can put that in a little basket and pull it out at some future time when we.
Yeah,
wanna
I've
visit
actually
at
been
work
getting
or-
some really cool suggestions from people of stuff to cover on future episodes. So I do want to do some more scripted stuff. Something that Toby's able to do on the blog post is like take his subject and really like delve into it and formulate his thoughts fully in a way that he
Yeah.
can present that information through text, through the blog post
That you can't
to
do in real
people
time.
that we can't do live, because we're just
Yeah,
having a
it's
discussion.
very difficult.
And so I've been trying to come up with ways to make that more a part of something that we're doing, is some kind of scripted analysis of something.
Yeah.
So look for that in the future, I guess. We're making some changes to the show. Stuff's happening in January. I don't want to talk about it too much, but there's some format changes coming up. So,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
Joe, you're fired.
Well, and we're
Well, yeah. Everyone's fired. No.
every podcast we actually quit. We, like View from the Gutter. We actually had to go back
Episode
in
89
time.
or 99 is our last episode.
Well, no,
Just because
Paradise
Toby
X.
told me that if we don't get to episode 100, he's going to kill me. So I'm going all out of my way to just make sure that we crash and burn before 100.
That's all right because Back Matter will still be here.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. If you have suggestions, if you want to hear us live stream, because it's something no one's ever really brought up before, Chris.
I just thought it would be cool to like hear you guys argue with somebody, because I know there's a lot of opinions and
Yeah.
I think it would be funny.
We
Yeah.
do argue with
Mostly, I
invisible
just
people.
want
Yeah.
I just want Joe to like insult someone on the air.
That's
think
we do that every day. I don't think that there's a time in which we haven't insulted at least someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, let us know. Let us know if you have ideas about the format, because we're going through a lot of growing phases right now. So we're trying some new stuff. And
Yeah. And somebody, God, who is it? One of our commenters on Facebook, I think it's Dante, really, 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 really wants us to do a Mark Millar retrospective.
I'd
And I'm,
be,
like,
I'd
totally-
be into that, because I think that something that's really cool about watching writers specifically is something that I find really cool about watching musicians and comedians too.
Yeah.
Is like watching them grow. And
Yeah.
like watching their art change.
And yeah.
And I think that there's nothing similar about early Mark Millar to like Jupiter's Legacy,
Right.
and stuff that's coming out now.
So I'm gonna.
So I think it would be interesting, because I know that you and Toby like kind of avoid Mark Millar stuff at all costs, because and to be fair, like you're not fans, so why would you read it? But I've been reading it, a lot of it, the recent stuff, and I think it's like significantly different from. And I never hated Mark Millar like you guys, so it would be, I don't know, it'd be interesting.
I don't know that I don't think it's so much that I hate him as just the kind of, and we talk about this a lot. The fact that in the works I've read of his, he doesn't want to earn anything. That's really how
Yeah.
I feel.
I
But
feel like he does that more now.
and I will put it to you, Dante. All right, because you've been a pretty big supporter of Back Matter. You come up with a reading list. I'm taking Red Sun off the table.
Okay.
You come up with a reading
Starlight
list.
has to be on there.
And Jupiter's-
Jupiter's Legacy maybe, but the two that I think have to be on there are Starlight and Super Crooks.
Okay. But that's more recent stuff.
Those are the two new recent ones. But give us a list of old stuff.
We will end with Starlight and Super Crooks. So you give us the reading list of what you want. I'll read Old Man Logan again, even though I guarantee you I think
I won't like it this time.
I probably won't.
I dug it the first time I read it, and I don't know that I'll like it again.
But Old Man Logan.
You want Wolverine?
It's like in the future, and like Wolverine has decided that he's a pacifist now. He's not going to fight anymore, and he never pops the claws. And there's like a significant in-story reason for that, but they don't reveal it at the beginning. That happens like midway through, which I think is one of the better twists I've ever seen in a comic book. And I think you hate that scene, but I think the emotional beats that happen because of that, I think they're well played. The parts I have a problem with is like it's set in the future where villains won, and so like the West Coast is dominated by these inbred Hulks, where Hulk and She-Hulk had these like inbred weird babies. And I think that's weird on a lot of levels. And I love the Hulk, so I'm like surprised that I still like that book because that part's like the shittiest part of it. But the villains, and then it's also a road trip book between him and an old man Hawkeye who's blind.
Which is my favorite part of the book.
And that part is awesome.
Interesting.
You want to get down on this with us?
Yeah.
You want to read some Mark Millar?
You should definitely at least read through that book. Because I think the art's really good in it. I think that it's got some cool story moments. And I love Elseworld stories.
Yeah. No,
so like anytime it's like, well, what if this happened? Like I'm totally into that. So
well, let's do this. We'll get us a reading list. And if you don't, I'll fucking come up with one. But get us a reading list of stuff you would specifically like to hear.
I don't want to read Bloodsport.
You'll get the Mark Millar, the I don't want to call you an apologist, but the pro.
I just think that there's a lot of unwarranted hate there.
That's fair.
But I've never read Wanted.
Yeah, and that was my first book, so that colored everything. But I will fucking reread Wanted. I will reread Wanted if you ask. This is what I'm willing to do for you fucking people.
I list of demands as follows. Cookies every day.
I need cookies every goddamn day, a hot shower, and a puppy. I need several puppies if I'm going to read a lot of Mark Millar.
Yeah.
Let's do it, though, because I think it'll be interesting to get the perspective of somebody that doesn't read a lot of that genre or has never read a Mark Millar book. So, I think you'll have the benefit of not reading Red Sun, which I think is largely considered
his best work.
So yeah, let's do it. The gauntlet has fucking been thrown. Let's do this shit.
I'm interested to hear if other people have episode ideas. That's kind of what Back Matter is for in a lot of ways, is for us to we have the format for the main show. Yeah. So we're not going to force stuff through on the vote just because you want us to talk about a book.
Yeah, but
I want that to kind of still happen the way it happens. Like, we should definitely talk about Captain Marvel, but
we'll get it on.
We'll get there.
It took us fucking 3 years to pick Barry Ween. We'll get back.
Back Matter is more about talk about a creator, talk about a genre, talk about something, talk about the news. And so,
let us know the kind of conversations you'd like to hear, because I like Back Matter because it's a place for us to have conversations.
Yeah,
we can talk. If there's big news coming, we'll talk about it on Back Matter. Yeah, but not every week has big news.
Work scheduling has kind of made us not be able to do that, because I would have loved to talk about the new Marvel movies and stuff.
Yeah,
but Joe and I are both pretty crazy busy at work. So it's that time of year. So, but we'll figure stuff out. Let us know. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, we love you.
Shoot us some emails, and we'll catch you guys.
Thanks to Chris for coming down. Chris came down from Seattle to be on the episode.
Yeah, it was fun. We'll have you back. And thanks for talking about Spawn with us.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah,
all right,
it's a pleasure.
We'll catch you guys next time.
Peace out.
Bye.
Love you.
Thanks for listening to our show, everybody. Special thanks to theouthousers.com for posting our episodes. You can always keep up to date with everything we're doing by checking out our website at viewfromthegutters.com. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel as we post new videos every week. You can like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter at ViewFRTHGutters. And please be sure to leave us an iTunes review, as it really does help new listeners find the show. And thanks again for listening. And as always, keep reading.